the story of how the Magstripe came to be. But with it being so easy to skim, we had to find a way to make our cards safer. The solution? To embed the card with its very own microchip, also known as chip and pin. Unfortunately, you can't just iron a microchip onto a piece of plastic. Modern bank cards need a slightly more sophisticated assembly. Thames Technology is one of the few companies in the UK producing bank cards from scratch. From this factory, they make almost 8 million of them a year.
Have you got your wallet on you?
No.
This is General Manager Shay Colford.
Have you got your wallet? Can I borrow it? Okay, wait. Right, so to me, the first thing that jumps at me is his rail card, where he looks very lovely. When you look at these things, they're sort of all the same, but are you looking at those and seeing different things to what I'm seeing?
Yeah, so with that particular one, you'll see that's a luminous ink, and you see along the edge, it's an orange core.
Yeah.
The colour of that Magstripe is different to the normal one.
Oh, yeah.
So that's how it's evolved over times with different finishes, different materials and different personalisation methods.
You know, when you're in a restaurant with friends and everyone puts their card in, I imagine that's an exciting
You
moment.
look at every single one of them.
Really. Thanks for your wallet, Chris. I'll hold on to that for you. Don't worry about it.
I promise we'll get to chip and pin in a minute, but let's just see how Shay makes bank cards first. The bank card starts its life as simple blank sheets of plastic, which are loaded into a giant printer. Then Forrest, or rather Dorothea's Magstripe, is added. The printouts are sandwiched between two laminate sheets and popped into an oven.
This is basically a sandwich toaster.
More or less.
What comes out is a solid piece of plastic, which is then punched out into individual bank cards. And now the bit we've all been waiting for, how the chip is installed.
And this is where we place the chip into the card. So we create the pocket where the chip is going to sit. The chip is then glued into the card. We then do various electrical testing to make sure it's live. And then that's a completed card, so take one out.
Look at that. How strange to have something at the end that feels so familiar.
We might think we're familiar with our bank card, but have you ever had a close-up look? I mean, really close. I've got the chip from a bank card under a microscope here. This is the underside of it, the bit that you never see. There's all sorts of detail. There's the little chip in the middle, there's these gold wires holding it in place, and the circuitry around the edge. So why is the chip so much more secure than the more traditional Magstripe? Well, the Magstripe gives you the same number every single time, whereas the chip is much cleverer. It's more like a miniature computer, and it gives you a unique code every time that it's used. Unlike the Magstripe, the chip doesn't reveal all the data needed to copy the card. The information the chip sends changes every transaction, which makes it far harder to copy. It's an ingenious device, and there are a few competing claims about who originally came up with the idea for it. But there's one story that I particularly like. It's a story about the eccentric French inventor Roland Moreno, because he said that the idea came to him in a dream about signet rings. Signet rings were a very big hit during the Middle Ages, and the signet, that's the picture in the middle, it would either be a family crest or a monogram or some really intricate picture. Essentially anything that made it really, really hard to copy. So then, if you were ever sending an important document, to prove that it came from you, you would use this almost like a signature by pressing it into hot wax. Legend has it that way back in the 14th century, King Edward III declared that his official documents should be signed using his unique signet seal. Essentially an early version of if you like it, then you should have put a ring on it. But the Magstripe era is coming to an end because of a fundamental flaw in the technology that has cost banks and businesses billions.
I was once branded as Britain's greatest fraudster.
Meet Tony. Tony knows more than most people about the Magstripe's weaknesses because he used to exploit them.
I started cloning credit cards when I was 15. I'm now 48, so it was a long time ago. Skimming is where someone takes a credit card and they swipe it through a machine that takes a cloned copy of that credit card. The Magstripe is so easy to skim because it's not encrypted and it's just there, open.
This is a card reader, but to people like Tony, it's called a grabber for reasons you can probably guess.
I would take one of these into someone that I had working like in a place like this, and I would ask them to just keep it down the back, away from where the customers are. The card goes behind the counter, they swipe the card, and then they take a clone of the card at the same time. The customer would be none the wiser. That's how simple it is.
Hold it there, Tony. So if skimming Magstripes is this easy, when did the banks find out? Let's go back to Sean.
Very early on, people realized that copying the information on the Magstripe is not any different than sort of copying one audio cassette to another.
If they knew in the 1970s, how did they possibly end up being popular?
Within the banking industry, there are lots and lots of banks. Lots of them are small. They need essentially the cheapest solution possible. So the Magstripe offers that. It's low cost, it's widely available, it's easy to manufacture. It's worse than useless. It's actually really dangerous to adopt this technology.
Banks? Doing something they knew was risky and dangerous? Doesn't sound like them. Back to Tony.
I had a girl that was working in a delicatessens for me, and on the first Saturday that she used the grabber, she got 300 card numbers, and before you know it, I'm committing countless amounts of fraud.
And how much money were you making?
No comment.
Tony didn't clone the cards himself. He'd leave that for a techie like Sol. Seconds after plugging in the grabber, Sol has got the skimmed card details up on his laptop. The 16-digit card number, the name, expiry date, everything you need in the 90s to make a card payment.
It's all ready to be put onto the cards.
And then using a card writer, he puts that Magstripe data onto a blank card.
All I have to do is press a little button, swipe the card like that, and it's written.
In total, it's taken less than 5 minutes to create this forged bank card. Well, that sounds easy. Where's the catch?
I was eventually caught. I jumped bail and I went on the run and spent the next 6 years of my life running from the police.
Ah, there's the catch. Tony was eventually sentenced to 12 months in prison.
In prison, I reformed. I learned a lot of lessons and came out a different person.
These days, Tony is fighting for the other side, advising businesses on how to avoid being the victim of fraudsters.